another video, or in this case, a live. And as the title says, Chosen Ones, ask me your question. I don't know why I thought of doing that. I was just going to talk openly, but I decided to say, ask me a question. I'm normally talking about something. So Friday night, I'm hanging out in my bedroom doing nothing. I was about to do some YouTube, just watching YouTube television. It's normally about something dealing with outdoors. I'm never really into like movies or anything. Just kind of, I'm a mechanical guy. I don't get into it. I lose my interest in like movies, anything dramatized, theatrical, you name it. It's just, I see so much of it every day. I guess I'm just very mechanical, constructive. I'm a construction type guy. But those who favor those type of movies and shows, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, everybody needs a little leisure time to do whatever it is that makes them feel at peace. So I just really want to open the live to just, if there's any questions, anyone who wants to ask me, chosen ones, empaths specifically, uh, I wanna try to answer it. And I'm just a regular guy like you guys are. And if there's anything that you've ever wanted to ask me, you can. And if I can answer it, I will. Because the reason why I think I want to do this is because there may be somebody that really has a question that about me, or a question to me that may help them understand something that they're going through, or something that they're dealing with, or even just they may just want to know a little more about me. Because when you're on YouTube, when you're talking to people, we do have, I want to say, a persona that can be misleading. We may have a certain personality, or a certain, have a certain demeanor. We may have a certain presence that makes people wonder, makes people curious as to how we think, why we come to the conclusions we come to. Because empaths and chosen ones, we know the more we talk about this stuff that we've gone through, we find, hey, how are you doing, KO2? You find the more we talk about this, and this is a unique thing, this is a very unique thing, narcissistic personality disorder abuse. It is one of the most unique things in the world. I'm doing very well. Thank you. I'm doing very well. Carla, hi. Oh man, this might be a movement, right? Because on a Friday night, I don't drink, I don't party. No problem with those who do. Julian, how you doing? And I feel like I'm not the only uh, nerd that's sitting around doing nothing. Because empaths and chosen ones, we don't really like to be doing a lot of things when we're home. My day's going very good. That's kind of what I'm talking about, Carla. Just talking about empaths, we tend to do less. Less is best because we give off so much energy throughout our day and just in life. So at the end of the day, we don't have any more to give. We just kind of want to be left alone. And when we were in relationships, we actually we couldn't wait to come home to that person, not knowing that that person couldn't stand us. I don't have my mics on. I'm not mic'd up, but I do have the. I had some jazz playing. I do have the noise in the room at zero, so there's no noise aside from the jazz background. And the title of this was cozy fall coffee shop ambience. Am I sad, Carla? What gives you that idea? That's a question, I guess. No, I'm not sad. I'm just relaxing, and thought maybe I could just open up a live and just hang out with some empaths, chosen ones that really don't have much going on, and choose not to have nothing going on. In your mind, are chosen ones natural introverts? No, that's a very big deception. We're not introverts. The reason why I think a lot of people we're really guarded. We're very guarded people. Even before I became aware and awake, I think I was guarded. It's something that I think is innate to our nature. Because, for example, our intuition is like at a level that's above average, even before we awaken. And I think that had everything to do with why we awakened the way we did. We're called chosen ones because we have a unique, specific, purpose driven intuition that tells us when something doesn't feel right, something doesn't sound right. We follow that intuition. We may trust a person, we give them the benefit of the doubt, but we really are guarded. And I think we are guided by our intuition more so than narcissists are. Narcissists are impulsive, they are very knee jerk, which is why every relationship, every endeavor that they attempt always flies back in their face. If it wasn't for that, the narcissist would be very, very um, successful in many of their endeavors, and they are, because what they do, they bounce from victim to victim, and they get people to pledge allegiance to their deception, and so they cover their tracks. They essentially give people the bloody knife to hide for them, and this is how they go through life, passing the knife off, running, saying someone is after me. Can you hide this gun? I just had to shoot them because they were after me. That's an analogy. And so imagine a person running into a building saying, they're chasing me. They're frantic, this person, and they're bloody and they have a gun in their hand or a knife. And they say, hide this knife because I just did something terrible to protect myself. In the spur of the moment, people would probably hide that knife until they figured everything out. And most often, when they hid that bloody knife, that made them a co conspirator. That made them, they partnered in that crime. And so, what happens when the dust settles? The flying monkeys really never look into things to see if everything is what that specific victim or narcissist has said, because the narrative always works for the narcissist. And so we're not introverts. We choose to be by ourselves. We love our alone time. We love our alone time. We don't yearn for the crowd. I think the only reason why, and in many cases we do, the chosen ones and empaths that do yearn for attention, adoration, all the things that a narcissist craves, I believe, other than childhood wounds, which are inflicted by most often narcissist siblings. And so we have the framework, the mindset of needing to be needed. And so therefore, we in essence have adopted a narcissistic mindset because we've learned from the narcissist, or we are under the illusion that we need to be needed. But now that we are awakened, we see our natural organic element is to be by ourselves. I understand how you're feeling right now. Uh, yeah, I'm feeling a lot of things all the time because that's just the nature of the beast, especially when you're in tune. You see things all the time. You're constantly, if you are in tune and your vibration is steady evolving. And this is not something you do a lot of times on purpose. Just being awake and just being in tuned, it becomes sharper and sharper and sharper. So you measure that vibration by the things outside of you, and you see that these things are not balancing, are not complementing you in your vibration. So automatically, these things sort of push against your normal force of life, almost like two magnets. If you ever put two magnets, sometimes you turn the magnet a certain way, and if it's in harmony, it will attach itself to one another. But if you turn that magnet at another angle, it almost pushes against one another. And so that is the best way to describe me, not really speaking for everyone else, but it's just a weird thing to the common individual, but it makes perfect sense to us. Well, Stephen Duncan, a lot of nonsense that explains. Well, Steve just said it best. It's nonsense, and it could be to even Stephen if that's what he was referring to. And I respect that. Everything that I say or anyone says doesn't have to readily be embraced and accepted. But the thing about it, I accept it. When you're okay within yourself and the things that you say and you present to people, it's left up to them whether they want to take it or leave it. And that's a good point. Nonsense, when it doesn't make sense, is nonsense. Much like a narcissist, they don't understand an empath or a chosen one to begin with. And because they can't figure you out, they have to go on and redefine who you are. They have to make you seem like you're um, unhinged, you're unbalanced. They have to make it seem like you're the one that not dotting your I's and crossing your T's. So what they do, they find all the inadequacies or the shortcomings to which every human being has. Uh, they point out and they draw off of your flaws and making themselves look like they may be the better person or bigger person. But it's really not a competition with an empath. We don't have to compete to matter in life. But when we were involved and engaged in this nonsense, as Stephen said, um, using that word, we were under illusion that these people were going in harmony with us. And no sooner than they lured us in, they began to diabolically dismantle our reality. And it worked for a while. For some of us, it worked effectively. But we always come back to who we really are. We always come back to square one, which is we come back to ourself. We come back to our senses. A narcissist can't come back to their senses because the things that they do to begin with, they don't put a thought process into it as to what if this doesn't work. Their whole premise and their whole motivation is to get over the hump. If I can do what I'm doing now to achieve the purpose or the set goal, I'll take it. It's an instant gratification and way of living is what a narcissist tends to do. And so that's how they move. But empaths, we move very much differently, and that's why we're able to bounce back. We're able to heal. We're able to find our way out of the uh, room that even with lights on, the narcissist can't find their way out. But we begin to see things as they are. We don't pretend that this thing we went through is not happening. Uh, Narcissists are very much different. They don't want to accept the state that they're in. So there's no improvement to be had. So any more questions? I don't mind. You can ask me anything you want. Um, and we do really do have to protect our individual self, our individual awareness of who we are, because things that are said, things that are done in life, that's something that we really don't have any control over. But a lot of the things that we do have control over, we have to master those things and just manifest what we are in a way where it's going to benefit, us first, so we can be healthy and we can help other people. So on a Friday night, this is normally what I would be doing here at home, because I'm, like I say, I'm constantly thinking, constantly on the go. And even with a broken foot 2 months in, I don't believe I've taken a lot of time to just relax, because I guess in the doing things, I'm most relaxed. I love to stay busy. I love to do things, and not for the reasons of just taking my mind off of stuff. I don't really do things to take my mind off of stuff. I do things because, I stay busy because I really do appreciate the things that I do. I appreciate being active. I have a mind, I have my body, I have my movements, I have all of my physical faculties, and I just utilize them. And I love to do what I do. And a lot of times I kind of overdo, get burnt out. But again, no real regrets there. Just, I guess I'm just doing what I got to do, playing my position until the game is over, called life. I don't overthink, if that's a word. I don't overthink my life uh, as a whole. I do now, at this state in my life. I am planning a little more mentally, and just got to adopt putting the plans mentally into motion, actually writing down things and formulating a real concise short term and long term plan. I've heard that word in school. Never knew I would probably be revisiting that. Short term goals, long term goals. Uh, don't really know where to start, but when it hits me, I normally jot things down, and it helps a lot when you can see it in front of you, because uh, I got a lot of bright ideas, but if I don't write them down, I'll lose sight of what I'm trying to do or where I'm trying to go. Because we process a lot. Like I said, we are thinkers. We are movers. We're shakers. We're thinkers. Why do you think the narcissist wanted to catch, hop a ride or hitchhike a ride in our life? Narcissists are not attracted by people who aren't going anywhere. They want to hitchhike a ride to that next destination. Doesn't matter if it's only a block up the road. They're so lazy they won't even walk. They will on your, because they're freeloaders. And maybe I'll make a video about freeloaders with an odor. And that's a title I would love to do, and I could probably talk hours about that. We know people like that. Not just in just the way that they move. They literally have odors. A lot of these people that are always looking for handouts, have entitlement syndromes. They tend to be just, they move so fast. They're just constantly moving. They can't sit still. They can't be still. And a lot of times, if you get close to them, you smell them, and they smell like, I don't know. I don't want to say rotten. They smell like their body. It has odors coming from it that you can't describe. If you look at that person, be it a man or a woman, and you may say, he's a decent looking guy, she's a beautiful looking woman, their physicalities and their body odor don't coincide. They don't match. It throws you so much off. You say to yourself, wow, they're dressed the part, but they smell like body parts. I mean, it's crazy, and it's been many instances, especially as of late. I don't know what's going on with people and their hygiene. They just don't think that matters. I used to hear something called cleanliness is next to godliness, and I don't know if that's true or where it came from, but I always thought maybe money, it doesn't matter how much money you have, whether you're rich or poor. I just think everyone living in America is has access to water, shower, soap. You know, the bare minimum of amenities. Even in jail, you have access to soap and water. Mexican prisons, uh, Cambodian prisons and jail. I've been told that they are some of the worst places on earth. Dirt floors, uh, 20, 30, 50 people in one confined space, uh, as opposed to American jails are organized. They're very organized. But we're privileged here in America, but we just don't realize it. Cleanliness, it's close, but money isn't. Well, money isn't uh, next to godliness, I don't think. I just think money is very much a currency that is, I guess you could say, vital to how we trade. I don't really fully wholeheartedly think it's vital to uh, life and longevity because Amish and different people like that, they trade and barter. I think the bartering system is one of the most fundamental, foolproof ways to do trade out of everything. Whether you use Bitcoin, Venmo, Cash Out, all of that is fine, but you know, bartering, trading, goods for goods, it is anonymous. Just I think just a clean, wholesome way of living, and I think it's a fair trade type of currency when you barter because the value is put on the person who has the thing that they're trading and bartering. Because if you respect the person and their goods, or you respect the person, you'll respect the goods that they're trading you. Not so with money. We tend to respect people who are of influence with a lot of money. But a person that doesn't have a lot of money, let's take a homeless, if he's respectful, he is still looked down upon. Doesn't matter how respectful and how articulate and how good his manners are. It just he's frowned upon. So going back to the bartering and the trading, I don't think that that's the case. We used to have money. We used to have money backed with gold. What happened to that? I don't even know. I mean, gold was a currency back then during biblical AD BC or ADDC. It's been out a long time. I don't know much about the history of the gold and silver, but I still I spend money with the Amish, and I really do, in the Mennonites or whatever. I do business with them. I've bought lumber from them and different things, and I'm actually very intrigued by the way that they're not caught up on money. I was reading the other night the Amish women, not all of them, but in this case, that I was reading, they have four dresses: one for washing, one for formal, one for uh, washing, formal, dinner, and they have a fourth one in case one of the other three gets worn out. So they have a fourth one on standby, which they never use. That's just like a standby. So, and many other things I read about them. They don't shave. The women don't shave their legs or any other parts of their body. They don't cut their hair. Just a few things that, that's the kind of stuff that actually interests me. And I was strolling on my phone and I saw a subtitle that was talking about them. And so I was intrigued and I went in and I learned some stuff that I didn't know. And you'll find that if you go outside of your own culture and you start learning about other people's culture, I mean, in fact, I don't know how you fact check this stuff, but taking it at face value, my point is you learn things about other cultures that defies the perception that society has forced us to or imposed on us. I don't think we have a race problem in the world. I got thinking about this a lot. And I got some shocking news for most of you that think race is quote unquote. We don't have a racial problem in the world. We have a human problem. Let that sink in. The human problem is the heart. Whenever a person comes to the point of becoming heartless, it doesn't matter what culture, race, or whatever they're from, the propensity to disenfranchise or disparage, demean, discredit, and just totally destroy and become destructive is there. So I don't get pigeonholed into racial issues. That's why when movements pop up, they're just that to me, movements. It moves, then it stops. It moves and it stops. Gains momentum and it stops. But the human problem, universally, if we think about it that way, we can start with self. What is my human problem that I have, whereas I seem to not be able to coincide and cohabitate with people around me? Is it because I'm selfish? Is it because I'm mean? Is it because I'm disordered? Is it because I look down on people? Is it because I'm jealous? Is it because I'm insecure? And if you can, look within yourself and ask yourself these hard questions, which really shouldn't be hard, and if you come away being honest, and if you can find any of those things that you believe somewhere, not even deep down, just on the surface, even if it was just one or twice or occasionally, you've been this way, and you try to rectify that by just checking yourself and keeping yourself in check and in tune with yourself, I think you'll realize this world, for the most part, is a real nice place to live, but to navigate around other people, that's where the obstacle comes in. It may not be just you as the problem anymore. Now you got to navigate around people who have not done that work, people who have not introspected and looked within themselves. Because it's easy, let's say, for me to talk, people sitting here listening. It's easy for people to ask me questions, which, I'm open to any questions that people might have. That's why I came on this live. But it's harder for us to look. I felt somewhat adult in my childhood, and you probably have. You probably had to make some adult choices. You probably had to grow up fast. Daughter of Sins and Pluto, or daughters of, I'm sorry, daughters of Cyrus and Pluto. Yeah, I always pick the wrong glasses. My apologies. You know, you've heard people say, "Look at you." They press. Has anyone ever told you you have an old soul, or you an old soul? It's possible you've been told that a lot. That's what it sounds like. And if you felt like you were an adult, even though you were a child, it's kind of reminiscent of I don't know, King David. You know, if you look at the story in the Bible of King David, he was a little man. Yeah, always felt like something was missing. Well, like I say, you probably had to grow up fast, depending on how toxic, ordered, and disjointed the family structure was. Because if I could imagine, I know some family dynamics. I don't live in the home with them, but just by my frequent times that I've observed, it's almost like the adult members in this family structure are robotic and they do everything in a mechanical, robotic fashion. And the kids, the house is neat, nothing's out of place, everything is manicured, the status quo. But the kids, if you look at the kids, you can see the children have. Let's take, for example, the royal family. This is sort of like what I'm alluding to, but these family members or these families I'm talking about specifically, they're not royal, but they kind of give off a stench like we're here and you're there, or we're doing this and this is just a family heritage. Be proud of your heritage, but it's a dangerous thing when you start thinking or have the perception that you have to impose a certain structural way of life for your children. If you're going to do that, you need to make it appealing. You need to make it like, for me, not oppressive. It has to be somewhat, they have to somewhat see some fun in it. And not to say that I'm wholeheartedly embracing that concept myself, but I don't hoard my faith. I don't hoard my dictates for the most part over my children. They know I have a way where certain things that I don't engage in, and I would ask that they not be a part of certain things either. Like, um, just my own example of living, but I don't neglect to tell them the things that I have done in my life, both past, most recent past, and present. If they have not witnessed certain things in my life, depending on what it was I experienced in life, I'll share it with them. If it's child appropriate, I will share it with them, because even though they've never seen me drink or never seen me act out in an alcoholic fit, I don't neglect to tell them, certain behaviors were unbecoming of me, that I actually, I was that guy before. If we observe someone acting a certain way in life, uh, I don't particularly shun that person. I don't look down on that person. I use it sometimes as an opportunity to show my kids that, what, uh, you know, that was me, or that could have been me, depending on the state of that person. I was heading down that road. So you have to make sense of that nonsense for your children, because otherwise, if you can't use yourself as an example for what you want your children to be, then you got to pull from an example outside of yourself. But it's always good to know that you are the first teacher that your children will learn from. My children make good grades in school. I think they make A's. But I told them I really am not as concerned about you making A's as I'm concerned about you knowing that, your character has to kind of like coincide with your academics. And if you can kind of balance that or keep that sort of semi balanced, I say you got a good chance at life, I say you'll make mistakes, but you have to understand the status quo of what you look like on paper is two different things as to who you really are. I've always felt like a quiet person. I have to uplift myself spirituality first before talking. Let me see. Spiritually first before taking another person into consideration. The world has gotten worse, and how a lot of people are talking about how bad the world is right now, and it's not just all talk. A lot of us are paying attention. Daughter of Cyrus and Pluto, we're really paying attention, and it's not really something that you can really just describe in one word. There's no one word to describe what how bad it is, because well, for me, I look at scripture that really is coming full circle, and not even being on a religious trip. I remember scripture that I've never recited, and it's sort of like it comes back to memory in the scripture where it talks about in the last days. If any of you that don't read Bible, I encourage you to open the Bible, at least give it a look of when it talks about in the last days. Just read it, the last days, and you will be spellbound if you haven't ever read it. And I've read it. I'm a believer, have been for many years, and I'm still spellbound. So when people say the Bible is not accurate, it's been stepped on, it's been exploited, blah 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 blah. I won't even dare counter that, because if that's the interest of is that if that's the level of interest and intrigue the Bible gives to most people, free will is a beautiful thing. I would implore you not to really go down that rabbit hole, because first of all, to prove the inaccuracies of the Bible, you'd have to be somewhat of an astute scholar. And then when you prove that, you would have to source where you got this information from. And that would probably lead you to other sources. And that would lead you to other sources, as opposed to just kind of reading the book as you would a love novel or any other of these books on the New York Times bestseller. From that perspective, approach it from a like I'm interested in seeing what's in this book approach, as opposed to running to the Bible for the whole purpose of trying to find inaccuracies in it. Because if you're looking for help, a lot of times when you're looking for some help, you don't run to a chaotic place looking for help. You go to a place of protection that you're gonna run to the police station, you're gonna run to the hospital, you're gonna run to the emergency room if you're looking for some help for your injuries or you're looking for safety. Now that's the same way I look at running to the Bible. If you don't approach the Bible with that kind of mentality, it's kind of like you're running into a burning house for help. So in scripture where that says in the last days man will be lovers of self more than lovers of God, covetousness, evil, haters of God, lovers of evil more than good, slanderers, backbiters. It goes on and on and on. And everything that this book says, we are living in it right now. And I could go on and on and on, because there's some other stuff in there that I know a lot of people are gonna have issue with. But at the end of the day, this is what I believe about the Bible. When I've heard people say there's so many contradictions in the Bible, and my only reply to that would be is the contradiction is in me. I've never found a contradiction in there. And if I've found something that I don't readily embrace or agree or comprehend, that's that's my perception. That doesn't mean that that's a contradiction. I'm yet to understand what this really means. And if I dare try to understand what that really means, that means I'm really yearning for this to make sense to me. You know, if you talk to some people, they really don't want help. They'll say, I got this problem. I wish I could figure it out. And you say, well, okay, here's a suggestion, in case you're interested. And if you tell them something that they really truly wasn't expecting to hear, and it's really an antidote, or it really is um, a legitimate, logical resolution, or at least an option, they'll bat that down because guess what? That was the God honest truth. And sometimes truth does that. It makes us clam up. It makes us assault the very person that is giving us that truth. It makes that thing that we say or that they ask for, once they've been given it, it's like sour grapes. They're ready to spit it out. And that's a lot like life with uh, experiencing this narcissistic abuse. Some people who have come out of narcissistic abuse, you'll find some things that they won't readily want to hear, like, when you tell them going to them, it's only going to get worse. There are some victims of this abuse that have gone back several times judging you, but it's never going to get better. I'm not going to be the one to tell you a lie. I'm not going to sit here and gas you up and give you false hope. I'm not going to give you wishful thinking. I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to play out. That's what truth does. Truth tells you what you need to hear. It doesn't tell you what you want to hear. And that's the reason why it's so hard to digest. I don't know all things, I don't know a lot of things, but I know what I know. And I know through this journey of narcissistic abuse, I have since being out of that relationship in 2019, 2020, beginning of 2020, I have encountered several narcissists. I encounter them on a daily basis. I've had many of them work for me. I've had, they try to gaslight, they try to start these little unhealthy conflicts just out of nowhere. And that's why I say you must stay stoic. If I had one word I could give you guys that I would love for you to embrace biblical teachings, biblical principles, and that is stoic. Stoic, you must remain stoic. And stoicness doesn't just come by chance. It's not something you can just do. As you raise your elevation, as you educate yourself more about what you are and what the narcissist never was or isn't and never will be, and you realize that they came into your life to try to dilute your worth, like water trying to mix with oil, losing battle. You were you were the thing that they needed. They came along and tried to give you the impression that you needed them. You are better off alone. They are worse off by themselves. You see how that works? They are worse off being alone. You are better off being alone. Because if you have a center and you are in tune with self, the thing about an empath, we're in our peace, we're in our zen, we're in our happy place all by ourselves because we're able to deal with self. We're able to accept self because our authenticity begins with us being real about who we are. So when we're real about who we are, we present that to the world. We present that to everyone we come in contact with. And so what happens is we are the real deal. We're the hometown celebrity. We are that superstar that never sold a record. To the narcissists, I mean, they look at us as being their hero because we coming to save them from themselves. That's what they that's what they want, but never realizing we can't save anyone from themselves. But they'll take it because you're a temporary fix to a permanent problem they have. You are a temporary fix to a permanent problem that they have. You didn't make the problem, you definitely can't solve it. But you can self reflect, you can introspect and see where you fit at in this world, in the grand scheme of things. You can, and even if you don't fit into the world as it pertains to people around you, you come to a point where you know where you fit in this world, purpose by purpose. You realize your purpose is whatever that might be. You realize it and you walk towards that purpose. Daughter of Cyrus and Pluto says, "Have you always felt you were you weren't me?" Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get some more glasses. I am so sorry. That's not even cool. These work for certain things. And I got like 20, 30 pairs of glasses. I'm sure if anybody's seen me on videos, I got like a ton of reading glasses, most of which are just cheaters. I don't wear glasses. It's just for seeing small letters. As you can see, I'm terrible at reading if I got the wrong pair on. Um, it says, "Have you always felt you weren't me?" Oh, it's supposed to be you weren't meant to be born here on earth. Have you always felt like you had a purpose? Nope, I haven't. Well, if you ask me, have I always felt like I had a purpose? I always, it, if you're an empath or a chosen one, this may resonate. And if it doesn't mean you're not an empath or a chosen one. It might just mean you just haven't come to terms with that. But to your question, have you always felt like you had a purpose? As an adult, 54 years old, speaking from the now, speaking of my past coming up, I have not really I hadn't given thought to it as I was younger. Have you always felt like you had a purpose? I haven't always felt like I had a purpose. That was not even on the radar, I guess is what I'm really saying, not to complicate your question. Only in the most recent decade, maybe two, and even now in the last 5 years since I've been awakened, I think to answer your question, since awakening from narcissistic abuse, I believe my purpose has become so much, it is closing in. It is coming almost to within a bullseye. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that, because all the things starting from my biblical teaching in the tutelage, I knew even before I embraced the idea of the religious Christian ideal, and before I experienced the Holy Spirit and all of these things that the Bible speaks about, I felt like what these people were saying had some credibility based on not just the physical demonstration of other people, the hooping and hollering and running around the church. I actually felt an overwhelming, I don't want to say sensation, overwhelming force within my whole continents that there was something for me in this world to do, and there was a purpose, and it was outside of everything that was going on in the church, which was so weird. But the last 5 years, awakening from this abuse, it is coming almost full circle, and I still don't readily know if I had to say what that one specific purpose was, other than the gift of encouragement. I've been told that by some people that have poured into my spirit. And sometimes people will tell you what they see in you. And if it seems a consistent thing that people keep telling you, undeniably, that is someone God is purposely putting in your path, I think, to kind of guide you and nudge you into that direction of purpose and seeing what that purpose is. And even if it's, some people say, oh, I want a better gift than the gift of encouragement. The gift of encouragement is a beautiful thing because you have the ability, by the grace of God, to be able to do that and be effective in it. Anybody can tell somebody, hang in there, it's going to be all right, and they can pat you on the shoulder. That's not a gift of encouragement. Those are words of encouragement. Big difference. Having a gift is something that can't everybody do. That is when you know your gift is something uniquely tailored to you. Nobody else can do it like you. Not to say that you're the only one that can do it, but God chose and He chooses. And He says He chooses the foolish things of the world to confine the wise. And He's going to use us empaths and chosen ones, the one who they had counted us out. They thinking that we the ones that are not going to amount to anything. Mama, daddy probably told you that. Not going to happen though. Go back and do your fact check. King David, they looked over him. They was picking through all these boys and all these brothers. Joseph, brothers threw him in a hole because his daddy favored him. When God favors you, it's gonna make your own brothers try to kill you, throw you in a hole, soak your coat in blood, and lie and uh, and pretty much lie with a straight face and tell everybody will listen you being murdered by a wolf, when in fact they got the blood on their hands. They're the ones that did this to you. A gift would be everlasting, not temporary, like most human beings are. You definitely right. You right. You right. You right. I mean, a gift. A gift is something that one person gives to another. Some people can give a physical gift, and might be identical gifts that you can give somebody. A certain, but I'm going to show you something about those specific gifts too. I believe every single physical gift has a uniqueness to it, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. I don't know if you knew this. I'm going to share a fun fact with you guys about tires. Do you know? And I learned this from the first 48 and all these criminal shows. I used to like, I'm intrigued by that stuff still, like that. Not Criminal Minds. I don't get into the dramatization about it, but I get into it. Whereas, like these raw, the first 48, how they find out who did what from certain things, variables. Did you know tires, car tires, each individual tire has a unique marking on it, not just the numbers on it. It has certain stampings on it that make that tire, every single tire. I don't care if it's a million tires uh, that have been manufactured or produced coming down that same mold. You may have 10 tires come down that same mold, and you may say that's the same mold. The impression is going to be exactly the same. The impression, for the most part, is the same, but there are distinct differences in the markings, the stitching. The machine does a certain um, it does a certain process each individual tire, and that's a lot like what God did to us. All of us may look alike or look similar in appearance, but there's something different. You have a different marking. You have a different marking, and that marking is the mark that God put on you, and that's the gift. That's the gift. And this is not just wishful thinking. This is not just, you know, butterflies and whatever they say. This is not just a feel good talk. I have experienced this in my life. I don't push the sale for other people to embrace this, but I do encourage you to really dig deep within yourself and listen to God. And I guarantee you, if you're truly sincere about listening to God and just being still in the moment, for me with a broken foot, you really don't have too much of a choice. But at the same, I still can't sit down. But you get my point. Sit down in the stillness, nobody around, especially when you're frustrated and you come to your wits end and you can't figure it out. That's a good place to be because now you're able to hear God. He's able to talk to you and tell you something. Not always audible. It's when he speaks in your spirit, when he speaks in your thought, when he speaks into your heart in a way where words can't really, do the trick. And you readily know that this is God because it is something so supernatural to you cannot explain, because he'll give you a replay of a thing that happened in your life. And nothing in life does this like I believe God's Holy Spirit. It causes him to retroact everything that was taken from you, everything that was done to you, and he runs that back, or he replays that back, and he brings you back to where you are now, just to show you where he brought you all the way through all of this and that, just to bring you to this point. And so it's undeniable when you see that. As a believer in God, I'm speaking to someone who really truly embraces God as a force in their life, who truly believes biblical principles and precepts. This is who I'm trying to tap into. And people who don't, nothing against you, I would just encourage you to embrace the Bible, embrace it for what it is, embrace it for what you're trying to get out of it. Nothing more, nothing less. Quit complicating your life. Quit trying to create conflicts in your life, much like the narcissist did to you. All of this stuff comes from an uncertainty. It comes from discontentness. It comes from a deceptive mind. It comes from being deceived. When you've been deceived, you don't trust. I walked away from the church, the formalized church. I walked away from formalized religion. But I stand on the Bible because the Bible was the only thing that delivered me from the Word of God, God's Word breathing into me taking a chance and putting my faith in that book. God began to show me and do things in my life that nothing else could have done. And I'm speaking from that position. I'm not speaking from what someone told me. I'm speaking from the demonstration of what God did in my life. And I've been a little more vocal about it, a lot more vocal about it in a real way, even after the church. And when I was going to church, I didn't witness to people like I think the average Christian did. I didn't feel like I could put somebody in the headlock and start, forcing them to listen to me talk 15, 20 minutes about Jesus and the different things that he wanted them to know. I began to approach people with me as a real human being that they could touch and feel, that had like, you know, had the same faculties they did, got their attention to the point where the conversation I began to have with them, they began to inquire in a beautiful way because they began to see the gift that was in me. Because anybody can talk about God, anybody can talk about Jesus, anybody can do all of these things. But if you're not gifted in that thing, you're going to annoy people with God. You're going to cause people disdain for you. And for the most part, people will hate you because you are a believer. But that's beside the point of what I'm talking about. If you come to someone and you have a heart for that person and you feel for that person's situation and you feel for them as a human being, if you're speaking from that organic place, You will reach them. You may not have them tell you that they've been reached by what you said, but God gives you sort of like his seal of approval on that. He tells you, one waters, one plants. He said, but God gives increase. And I believe that. I don't need to see the results of what I do in people's life. I always tell people one day God will run that big screen TV back and he'll show me all the things that he's pleased and displeased with. Because if we knew everything we did in favor of God while we were here, it would breed an arrogancy. It would breed a self-sufficiency. It would breed a pridefulness. So it's good not to know all the people that you're affecting with your walk and with your life. You just have to believe that you're doing your due diligence as a believer and as a chosen one. Where there's always been two sides to the God aspect. One is the serpent and one is the planet Saturn. I don't truly understand, if I could say, concepts of what you're saying, daughter of Cyrus and Pluto, but I do respect what you're saying. And if that's the position you're on, uh, I can't speak a lot about, the aspect. One is the serpent. I kind of, well, evil, I guess that's what you're saying, and one is the planet Saturn. So that's going into like, I mean, I guess planets, and I would have to know more about when you say the one is the planet Saturn. I believe one is good and one is evil. If Saturn being a representation of God, well, we're we're in the same boat, going the same place. But for me, I say God. You might say Saturn. If this is what the peace that surpasses all understanding, like the Bible speaks of, if this is what it affords you, then don't allow uh, my misunderstanding or me not understanding cause you any duress. I just want you to understand that when you speak, you're being heard, even though if I don't understand everything that you're talking about or embrace that concept. But I do appreciate you coming in. Me and you are the only one that here was a couple people, but again, ask me any questions you want. I've been talking for an hour. I didn't expect to be hanging out for an hour. Like, I did not expect to be hanging out for an hour, but it doesn't seem like I've been talking for an hour. But when you're at home relaxing in your bedroom, it doesn't feel like an hour. This is the one live that I decided to do this way, as opposed to, I guess, a lot of other lives I've done where I had to really, I felt like I had to be conscious of, uh, speaking to the audience. So I just like to just speak freely about the things that concerns you guys, man. I mean, because I want to know what everybody else is thinking about this thing called life. Someone asked me in the beginning, uh, "Are you sad?" And a lot of people think empaths are mean. We're always mad. We're always sad. There's a deep thought process I know from people making those kind of remarks and comment. There's a deep thought process within me that I think is unmatched by just a regular average everyday person, and that is on purpose. That is not by accident. A chosen one doesn't bothers their self. They're not bothered by a lot of things that many people in the world are concerned about. We're just not. We don't get into trivial matters. It's just to us a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. If you see an empath or a chosen one that are entangled and engaging in all the toxic, diabolical, chaotic rhetoric, trivial conversations, Oftentimes that's the chosen one that's not really conscious of his worth. He's adopted the narcissistic worth. And in essence, they are diminishing, they are extracting our worth, like squeezing the juices out of our worth. They want to extract the goodness out of us, and they put back in their taintedness. And what we do, we embrace their illogical concepts, and we start to believe in their logical, because again, we measure it by people of status. Often narcissists are in big statuses, they are in a status quo, they are leaders of the world. It's really normal to feel outside of the comfort zone. The serpent is higher wisdom and consciousness as well as God. Oh, are you saying the serpent is higher wisdom and as well as God is also? Well, I embrace that in a way. What you're saying, well, I embrace that for the simple reason, biblically speaking, we know Satan is representation of the serpent. Okay. So we know that he was, as the story goes, just for emphasis or just for the conversation we're having, he's a representation of Satan, the serpent. And so he cast him down, which is, I believe, where serpent came from. He cast him down to the earth, and he told him, you will actually breathe the dust or the dirt, so you be down on your stomach to crawl. So that is the serpent. That's how Satan was cast down. But before that, he was one of God's angels. He was like one of the top dogs. And so, that being the case, he was, from what I believe, one of the wisest angels. But he was too smart for his own damn good. I think that's a lot of our problem. You'll get a lot of pastors. Perfect example, King Saul. King Saul. Look no further. He's the poster child for a good guy gone wrong. He began to win battles right and left. He began to win battles without even really trying. But what he neglected, he took out of the ingredients for winning. He didn't check in. He didn't check into the source. He unplugged from the source of his victory, the source of his power, and he thought that he still was going to win. He became self sufficient, just like Satan. It's a repeat, it's repetitive moments in the Bible, all the way from Adam and Eve, all the way up to, you can go into Solomon, Saul, uh, Samson, Judas, Peter. There's a lot of people in the Bible that just became sidetracked. Thank you for speaking with me. This is an awesome live stream. Oh, it's funny you say that. Awesome. That's nice of you to say that. It's always awesome when you just talking like two people or three people or minutes in the live just talking. It's kind of like sitting around talking and just sharing stuff. I mean, that's just what life's all about. I mean, to have real, raw, organic conversations is something that narcissists can't do. They're all over the place. They cannot have a wholesome conversation. They're always being destructive. They're always being argumentative. They're always being conflicting. They always want to have what they say supersede anyone else's. They never entertain anyone else's opinion. in a real way. They try to fake it as best they can, but it always comes out. They can never, never, never truly fool an empath. Once you're awakened, you see them coming from a mile away. And I appreciate you coming in just to talk with me because wherever two or more gather, God's in the midst. I believe that too because there are probably a lot of people listening, and there are probably a lot of people going to listen in this live stream. Once we're done, they'll play it back and hopefully you'll get something from it. Some comments are always welcome after the fact. If you had questions that you didn't want to ask on the live stream, you can ask them after the fact. And I don't know if I can reply to them after live. I don't think I can. Live's all new to me. I've done about 20 of them inside of the 4 years that I've been doing YouTube. And for all you guys that don't know, I've been doing this for 4 years. Have about 700 subscribers. Um, and there was a surge. I did a video, 99.9% of society you can't communicate with. I think it was the title. And I don't want to say it went viral. I think I got about 17,000 views now. That's the only video that I've had thousands of views. It's probably the only one. I didn't know that that was going to uh, have that many views, and that had everything I maybe to do with me, accruing 700, and I've been around 700 subscribers for quite a while. Haven't increased significantly, and that's for a combination of reasons. I'm not here a lot. I don't have consistent presence here on YouTube. All of these things I think contribute to people wanting to really sink their teeth into you as a person. They don't see you a lot. They don't, and a lot of people here who are subscribers, they really do value what we have to say and they want to see us a lot more than they do. And I get it. You can get discouraged very easily and not believing that that person is, um, that anchor that you perceive them to be. And that's a dicey thing too. It's always good to look towards other people for encouragement, but I would say this: don't ever wholeheartedly grasp onto the ankle of that person that has 100,000 subscribers just because they're relevant. If you find a content creator that you can really relate to, whether they do one video a week, one video a month, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I believe that. I have content creator friends that I have known for over the 4 years. Paula, Narcon. These are people that when they first started, Dave, Narcology Unscripted, and I mention these handful of people on a regular. Dr. Carmen Bryant, who's been invaluable to me when I woke up in 2019, 2020. So these people, I would watch them every day, every week. Couldn't wait for them to pop up on a video. It's called almost like I had addiction to it. And I think I did because I was hungry for knowledge and insight. And it started making a lot of sense to me. Now, these people were talking from an academic standpoint for the most part, Dr. Carmen Bryant specifically. Dave of Narcology Unscripted, bless his heart. He the truth. This guy been through the ringer. So you find these people to resonate with you, but when I came to a point in healing and still healing, it's not a one off. I began to realize that these people have inspired me. They've inspired me. And I must continue to try to either inspire or I have to unlatch from these people in a real way and just wish them well and wish them okay. And in doing so, I unsubscribe to a lot of people. Well, I don't want to say unsubscribe. I don't even think I unsubscribed to David, but I did this. Hear me out. I unsubscribed because I looked in my subscription list and I had over 200 subscriptions. Now, I did this for me and I'm sharing it with you guys. I didn't do it because I'm self sufficient. I didn't do it because I thought I was better than them. I didn't do it because I didn't need them or didn't desire what they had to say anymore. I still watch many of these people I just named. I frequently visit their channel. The difference is I unsubscribed because I thought it best to stop overloading myself with everybody's perspective of where I'm trying to go and begin to be a conduit for that thing that I wanted to see in the world. They gave me the boost of energy. They gave me the boost of confidence. They gave me the boost of encouragement. So now it's time for me to go do great things, be great for God's purpose, do the things that I think I need to do. A lot of times I do that outside of this platform. So there are multiple reasons why um, that video sustained about 17,000. I haven't checked it in a while. I think it's around 16,000. Uh, there's a lot of reasons why that video, God thought it best. That connected with 16,000 people. And because my videos don't connect with 16,000 people all the time, if it connects with two or three people, I guarantee you they are going to share that with someone else, or they're going to hold that video near and dear to their heart, because that's the one video that connected with their situation and it resonated with them as a human being, one to another. And now they know they're not the only one thinking like this. They're not the only one feeling like this. So the numbers don't matter to me as much as the mindsets and the people that come in here matter. Those numbers don't matter. I want everybody to get something out of what I have to say, and I hope you do. So one day I even see it as I may be a public speaker. I may be a million subscribers, 10 million subscribers. But I do believe when and if that comes, I think I will sustain the man that I am in a big way, because I think to realize who you are as a human being, the numbers change, but you don't. Or a woman, to realize who you are as a woman or a man or an individual, the things around you will change all the time, but you will remain the same. And that's what God's kind of trying to get us to realize as chosen ones. He brought us out of this fire unsinged, unaffected in a spiritual way, in a negative way. We're unaffected. Physically, they did things to us. Mentally, they did things to us, but we're unaffected spiritually. It didn't reduce our spirituality, it increased our spiritual wellness. It made us a Rottweiler for the BS that often society has duped us with. They come to us in these neatly packaged forms, and they try to give off these impressions like they for us, but they're against us. So we need to understand, as awakened empaths and chosen ones, like the old saying go, we all we got, like New Jack City. We all we got. Apart from God Almighty in this life, empaths, chosen ones, whether we're near or far, we have a unified agenda that God has purposed us. It is to bring back the balance and harmony to this world. And in doing so, bringing people together in order to let this darkness in this world that Satan thinks he's going to continue to wreak havoc with people's lives. He's bringing chosen ones and empaths out of the so we can become proactive in what we're doing for his kingdom. And I think we are doing that. Every now and again, I see new content creators pop up. And when I began Awaken in 2020, I would kind of like be hesitant. But often now, I'll click on a new a new channel when it pops up in my feed, of course. I'll give you another example of a guy that I really do like, Anthony the Witness. Anthony the Witness. At first glance, it's always the ones that people perceive as are different. They're not the they don't fit the mold. Anthony the Witness is the truth. Anthony the Witness is the truth. And he has a similar approach to, or I have a similar approach to him, not taking precedence over him. He talks about he doesn't go to the church anymore. He talks about a lot of things regarding the formalized church. But again, he, as I am, we're still bona fide believers. We believe in God. We believe in our faith through Christ Jesus. Nothing's going to knock us off of what we believe. And we believe it in the way we believe it. We don't get into these knockdown dragouts about doctrine. You can have that crap, man. You think I got time to play with my mental, spiritual energy, trying to go back and forth and arm wrestle with somebody over doctrines, certain points of views? Sometimes you can get caught up in that tidal wave of that arm wrestling of no, no, doesn't do this way, it goes this way. But if you're led by the spirit, you won't fulfill those lusts of that flesh and start trying to be the I know it all or I think what I say goes. And you resist trying to correct somebody because people be trying to lure you into those conversations purposely anyway, because they're concerned about how you think and they want to test you to see if you really think like that or if that what you really believe. That's an agent of Satan right there, I believe. Either that or somebody's just dogmatic about their faith, which I've probably been guilty of too. I won't say that that's an agent of Satan. I retract that. A lot of times it can be a zealous believer that just think he's, doing the most for God. And again, he would be accurate. He thinks he's doing the most for God. And so we're being led by our own desire rather than to be led by God's spirit. When you're led by God's spirit, it's a no-brainer, man. I tell people it's like breathing. When you exercise your faith in God in a real way, it's like breathing. You don't have to say, hold up, let me catch my breath. You can talk organically, like having a casual conversation like I am now. You'll be able to breathe as you're talking because your conversation won't be about who's right and who's wrong. You'll give your point of view as where it regards your life, your experience, your walk with God. You'll apply Bible wherever it's necessary and is needed. You'll say God said and leave the person to deal with that. And interpretation is another thing where people try to get you, pigeonhole you into, like, well, he didn't mean that. He didn't mean this. Give it a rest, man. We got to stop this foolishness because a lot of things are designed by society to be a debate. And who doesn't like a healthy debate? But some things people do in debating with you, they're not looking for answers. They're not looking for uh, solidarity or truth or harmony or any of those other words you can use. They're not looking for harmony. They want chaos. And they're just looking for somebody to roll around in the mud with them. And likes to do this more than anybody, the narcissist. So we don't play that game. Guard your energy, guard your spirit, guard your mind. Winter's coming up. Narcissists are looking for somewhere to hibernate and wreak havoc on somebody's life and their mind over the winter. Make sure you don't let those wild animals into your house. You don't allow them around your children. You don't allow your children to be exposed to them unattended, unsupervised, out of your presence. If you detect that you're living with one, I pray that you gain strength and courage from God to disengage. and quietly exit that situation. Don't give them the memo. Don't give them the memo. So you leave with purpose, and you leave with the whole idea that your life is going to be a little bit better than it is now. And it may not be a lot of bit better, but it will take time. But one day alone, one day alone, or 100 days alone is better than one day with the narcissist. So just keep that in mind, guys. I wish you guys a beautiful weekend. It's Friday night. I'm gonna do some YouTube. I'm gonna watch some YouTube. It's been great hanging out. And daughter of Cyrus and Pluto, you be blessed as well. And everyone else who came in and gave a hello. That being said, bless.